I met this girl when I was 10 years old. And what I loved most, she had so much so. Hey everybody, it's Old School Heart. Happy Wednesday to you guys. I know you'll probably see this late Wednesday night or Thursday, so happy Thursday to you guys, to some of you guys. I hope that everybody has had a productive week. This week has been moving quite quickly, actually. And there's so many stories. There's so many things that I want to talk about. But I am most definitely going to continue to dedicate Wednesdays to our Black women, to our missing Black women. And I will say this, man, this story in particular actually woke me up out of my sleep. Like, meaning, like last night, I did a little bit of research on this particular little girl. And I was like, I'm tired. I'm just going to get up in the morning and I'll start researching again. So I went to sleep, and in my dreams was this young girl. And so it kind of startled me, and I got back up and I could not go back to sleep. So I went ahead and continued my research. But man, this case is something else. It's baffling. And so I won't hold you any further. Let's get into episode 4 of Where My Girl's At. You can create an environment of safety, airtight, control, confident even, but still something that you could never imagine could still happen. So this is the story of Asha Degree. Where My Girl's At, episode 4. Two beautiful Black people married February 14th, 1988. Their names were Harold and Aquila Degree. They had 2 beautiful children. First, a son by the name of O'Brien, and then a year later, August 5th, a day before my birthday, they welcomed a baby girl by the name of Asia. Now, fast forward 10 years later, it's Monday, it's Valentine's Day. The number one song on the radio happens to be Mariah Carey's Thank God I Found You. It's also the 12th year marriage anniversary of Harold and Aquila. So love is definitely in the air, but so is responsibility. So Aquila wakes up at 5:45 a.m. so that she can get the kids up early, because they did not get a chance to take a shower because there was a power outage the night before. So both O'Brien and Asia went to bed without taking their baths. So she goes to their bedroom just to get them up and a little early so that they can both take a bath. So she enters their bedroom to only find one child, and that's her son, O'Brien. But where is Asia? Like, where is Asia? But there is no panic. You know, kids do roam around the house during the night, early in the morning. Sometimes they're looking for you. You're looking for them. No panic at all. So she looks around the house. No Asia. She looks outside. No Asia. She looks in front. No Asia. Strange. Very, very strange. But there is no worries. Harold, her husband, says, hey, Asia may be across the street at my mother's house. Let's just call and see if maybe she got up early and went over there just to spend time with my mother. No panic, right? So they call his mother and they say, hey, have you seen Asia? Is Asia over there with you? And the grandmother's like, no, without any hesitation, she's like, I have not seen Asia at all. She just didn't come over here at all. So now the whole family has started to look for Asia. Grandma across the street, Harold and Aquila at their house. They're just checking, the front of the house, the back of the house, around the neighborhood. They're just walking around. There is no Asia. So immediately they called the police. Unlike the other two girls that we talked about where there was a hesitation, there was a wait, not with this couple. They are on it. There should be no reason why a 9-year-old is nowhere near or nowhere around the neighborhood. They called the police. The police arrived at 6:40 a.m. And the reason why they arrived so quickly is because this child, of course, like I said before, is 9 years old, and no one in the family knows where she's at. So, the cops arrived to Asha's home, and they start to search everywhere. They raise such a commotion, it causes the neighbors to wake up, and they also began to assist the family in searching for Asha. So they do this all day. All plans for Valentine's Day, all of that love is in the air, throws out the window. It goes out of the window in search of Asha, trying to find out where exactly this young girl could be. So far, the only lead that they have is these mittens that were found. And they find those around the neighborhood. I think they were like white mittens. That is the only thing that they could find that belongs to a child. And they thought that it might be Asha's mitten, but Aquila says that it's not her daughter's mitten. Doesn't look like anything that she bought for her daughter. So that's cast aside pretty quickly. Now, we do have O'Brien, who shares a room with Asha, and he says that, throughout the night, he heard a little bit of commotion, but, it's typical when you're in the same bedroom with somebody for them to make a little bit of noise throughout the night. And he said he heard a little bit of commotion, like, Asha was moving around quite a bit, but he didn't think anything of it, and he went back to sleep fairly quickly and stayed asleep until he was woke by Aquila in the morning to take a shower. Now, between 24 and 48 hours, this is what the police could gather about Asha's disappearance, right? So between the hours of 3:30 to 4:15 a.m., Asha packed a backpack full of clothes and other items, and she left the home. Now, the reason why they picked that hour that she would have left home is because Dad said that when the power came back on, remember that I did say that the power went out the day before. So when the power came back on, he got up and he checked on them about 12:30 a.m. And then he fell asleep on the couch watching television. And he started himself up about 2:30 a.m. And then at 2:30 a.m. when he woke up, he checked on them again. And so from the time of 2:30 a.m. and when Mom got up at 5:45 a.m., it leaves that window period of when Asha might have left the house, because we do know that there was no breaking in or entering or a window being broken, opened, or anything like that. They lived in a fairly small house, and so if there was someone that entered into the home, they would have known. It would have been something that would have been loud. And O'Brien was also in that bedroom. And if he can wake up to hear a light commotion, he would have most definitely also heard somebody possibly entering in the room. Now, I could not gather any information on whether or not there was a window in the room or anything like that. But it seems like Asha may have just literally walked out of the front door. And that was what they were able to gather that first 24 to 48 hours. Now, we also know that when Asha went missing, local news coverage picked up the story to assist in finding her. And because of that news story, 2 drivers did come forward and report that they saw a young black girl walking around the time of 3:30 a.m. to about 4:30 a.m. During that time period, they did see a young girl walking. So they did contact the police and report what they saw. Apparently, one of them thought it was so odd. He circled around the kid like at least 3 times. Now, one of the reasons is because he didn't know if it was an adult first, because I would assume, and we all would assume, that when we see a kid walking at 3:30 in the morning, we have to make sure that our eyes aren't deceiving us at all. And so the first time that he went by, he was like, let me just check, because is this a child or is this an adult that maybe appears like a child? So that's one of the reasons why he checked back at first, because he didn't know. Now, when he realized that it was a child, he circled a couple of times, but because he kept like circling around this child who appeared to be Asha, it caused her to get kind of startled, kind of scared, and she ran off into the woods. Now, when she ran off into the woods, she pretty much disappeared, because it was like 3:30 at night. It's dark, of course. It's not light outside at all. And during that time, it was also raining. And so when she disappeared into the woods, he lost track of her and was unable to see where she went. He also didn't want to make it even more creepy and go off into the woods with her. And so he noted that he did see Asha just go into the woods and disappear. And that was all. The second driver just said he basically saw a young child walking on the highway. I believe it was Highway 18 in North Carolina, because that's where Asha and them stayed. I'm so sorry if I did not mention it. They stayed in North Carolina. And so he just told the police what he saw was basically a young child at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, walking on Highway 18 in Shelby, North Carolina. They have a highway called Highway 18. He saw that child walking. Now, how were they able to determine that was Asha? In fact, now what they said was that the description that both of the drivers gave, these are 2 separate people. The drivers gave the same description. They said it was a young black female. Her height had to be underneath 4 feet or about 4 feet. She had on a long white shirt and white pants. And she appeared to be very, very young. So they both gave that same description. Mom and dad, Harold and Aquila, both said that is what that those are clothes items that she would have owned, which would have been a white pair of pants and a white shirt, and that was actually one of her favorite outfits. And so they were able to put 2 and 2 together and come to find out that was Asha on that Highway 18 in Shelby, North Carolina. Now, I wanted to talk about this really, really quickly. About, when we see children out in public by themselves, especially late at night, not necessarily during school hours, because we know that children get out of school early, so you can see them, at 12 o'clock, possibly walking home, either together or by themselves. But it is quite odd to see any child out after a certain hour, especially about 8, 9, 10 o'clock. Especially. And the sad part is, because of sex trafficking, because of molestations and abductors and different things like that, it's so hard to monitor or to be a good citizen and watch that child go safely to their next destination. Because if you linger too long in watching a child that is alone and going somewhere, you come off as a sexual predator yourself, even though what you're doing is just trying to make sure that the child gets safely to wherever they need to go, and doesn't get, abducted or anything like that. And it's just, we've gotten the environment has gotten to a place where it's hard to even be a part of neighborhood watch without somebody's thinking that you in fact are going to do something or are suspicious yourself. And so at first, when I thought about these two drivers and why they didn't do anything or ask a young kid, hey, do you need a ride, or are you okay? What you doing out here so late? I also know that, it was 2000, and molestation and different things like that were common words at that time. And you could get in trouble for harassing a kid, for touching a kid, for any of that. And so I know for those two people that was probably hard. Like, what do you do without coming off suspicious yourself? I don't know, for me, I still would be on the safe side and go, hey, I'm going to just watch you. I'm not going to touch you or do anything to you, but I do want to make sure you get to your next destination. Can you tell me like which area you're going in, just so I know? And then maybe I'll stay here in my car and I'll watch you walk as you go. But that's so early in the morning. To not do anything is just, I don't know. It's just hard. Let me know in the comments what you would do in this situation. If you see a child 9 years old at 3 o'clock in the morning, what do you do in that situation? Let me know in the comments below. So the information that they received from those two separate drivers, the cops use that information and start to search along that highway, which is Highway 18 in Shelby, North Carolina. They start to search along that highway. So what they find is candy wrappers, a pencil, a marker, and a hairball. A couple of days later, mom was searching in Asha's room and noticed some of her favorite clothing was missing. So she reported that to the cops as well, and the cops needed anything at that moment to assist in finding this young girl, any leads that they had at all, because the leads were very, very slow. The things that they found out from the information that they gave to the media, it just wasn't giving them anything. And it just was so mysterious that a 9-year-old girl up and left her house and never returned. And so they were trying to find any information they could, but nothing was coming up or sticking. So all in all, the cops spent over 9,000 hours trying to find Asha with little to no leads. And after a week of searching, they had to call it off because they were literally getting nowhere. Now, Asha's disappearance gained a lot of media attention. What I would say a bit more than normal, especially for back in the day for a black young girl. We know this is why I'm doing this show, because there is not a lot of media attention on missing black women. But for that year and during that time in particular, it was quite a bit for Asha Degree. The Degrees did interviews on some of the biggest shows that were out during the time. They did interviews with Oprah. They did an interview with Montel Williams. They did several interviews with newspapers and magazines. One specifically they did was one with Jet Magazine. They did a couple with actually with Jet Magazine. And so they had gained a lot of media traction just because a story like this is just so different. It's so unique, especially because she was a 9-year-old girl. And I'm going to say that quite a bit, but especially because she was a 9-year-old girl. Now, Mom Aquila did make a statement and say that she felt like the media coverage for her daughter was just not enough in comparison to, white counterparts, white children. She felt like that there could have been a lot more momentum in the media in assisting finding Asha. And she felt like had they had received more attention, that there may have been even more leads that would aid in helping the police find Asha. I definitely feel Aquila when she says that that when you lose momentum like that, and we talked about that before, when you lose momentum in the media, people lose interest, and if they lose interest, it's going to be very, very hard in finding a young girl like that. I mean, she could be overseas at that point, especially if the media stops paying attention. Now, however, this did not mean that the case was dropped. There still was a very active missing persons case on Asha Degree. There had to be. I mean, she's only 9 years old. So the case is never dropped. It never stops. The search did continue. What happened was the FBI decided to open up their own investigation into Asha's disappearance. And along with their investigation, the state's own version of the FBI opened up their own investigation as well. Now, close to Asha's 11th birthday, which would have been August 3rd, 2001, Asha's book bag was actually found on the same highway she was reportedly seen, a year prior, right? Now, they say they knew it was her book bag because her phone number was in it and her name was in the bag. But after receiving that, there has literally been little to no leads at all. And so, the cops are trying whatever they can to keep the momentum of this case going. They actually have meetings with each other, trying to follow any leads there are using different technology, because of course this happened in 2000. So, over the years, technology and everything has advanced. And so they're using everything they can in order to keep the momentum of this case going. So the big question here is, why would a child Asha's age pack a bag and leave home? Now, I know most of us think about sexual predators, right? Because sexual predators have been around for ages. But we really started to gain more information about their behavior, who they go after, who's more likely to be a sexual predator. We started to find out more information about that in the 2000s, late 90s and the 2000s. And, we had those shows with To Catch a Predator, like with Chris Hansen and different things like that. And so we knew a lot about sexual predators. And also cyber abductions. That was becoming something that was really, really big. Kids being lured on the internet to meet someone at the mall. And then next thing you know, these kids are taken. And even worse, these kids are sexually assaulted, raped, molested, and different things like that. And so, one would expect or suspect that this would be one of the reasons why Asha may have left the house abruptly and packed her bags and different things like that. However, the only problem with that story is there was no computers or internet in the Degree home. Now, that could be for several reasons. I didn't have a computer in my home in 2000. I think we received our first computer in about 2001, so maybe like a year later. We just couldn't afford it. My mother was a single at home mother. Excuse me. My mother was the single person at home. And she just couldn't afford it. I believe that we just somehow received one from a family or something like that, or a friend, but we couldn't afford it. Now, with the degrees specifically, they said that they didn't have one in their home simply because they didn't like all of the cyber stuff. You know, they didn't like all this technology, and they didn't want to start Asia or O'Brien on any of that. They wanted to keep their home safe from that, and if they needed to do any of that, they did have the school. Also, you know, during this time, the police thought that maybe there was some family issues going on, and that maybe that could be the reason why Asha picked up and left. But that was found to be untrue as well, considering Asha didn't really exhibit any of those child behaviors that would warrant her to leave. So she wasn't acting up in school. She didn't tell the teachers at the school that there was an issue going on. She really was a bubbly, warm child. Not only that, Asia had a really tight-knit community. Her parents were adamant about who they allowed to be around her and O'Brien, and who they allowed themselves to be around. It was family, church, school, period. Even in my house, it was the same way. Family, church, school, period. Rarely was I able to go to anybody's house, you know, that wasn't a part of that circle. I mean, even birthday parties that I was invited to from people that I knew at school, my mother was not having it. And, you know, like most strict Christian parents, you know, they kept their circle really, really small. They kept it really, really small. And so it was no different in Aisha's family. Even that week that led up to her disappearance, Aisha was with family. So she goes missing on Monday. So let's reverse back, right? Let's reverse back to what happened the weekend prior to her disappearance. So the kids had a 3-day weekend because I believe that there was a Teachers Institute on February 11th. And so that would have been a Friday. So on Friday, they actually ended up staying at their aunt's house while their parents went to work because they were out of school that entire day. Now, later on that day, both of them, O'Brien and Asia, both had basketball practice. And so they both respectively went to their basketball practice later on that day. Now, the next day, both her and her brother had basketball games. Now, at Aisha's basketball game, everybody remembers this to a T because Aisha was very, very competitive, and she was one of the best players that they had on the team. I believe she was a point guard, and Aisha had fouled out that day and was super, super mad because when she fouled out, they lost that game, and that was the first game that they ever lost. So all of the girls were super, super emotional about it and were showing it. And Aisha, you know, she knows better. She got herself together quickly, got her face together. All the other girls followed in her direction. And even though they were sad that they lost the game, they were very, very supportive of the next game, which would have been her brother's game, O'Brien. And so they had those two games that day. Now, later on that day, which would have been Saturday, of course, Aisha spent the night at her grandmother's house, and they had a sleepover with a cousin. The next day is Sunday, of course, is church. So they go to church with her aunt and everything. And then after church, they return home to their parents. Now, when they return home to their parents, of course, they eat and do different things like that. But they're most definitely getting prepared for the next day. Both kids ended up going to sleep at 8 p.m. But they were awakened because there was a car accident that happened on their block. That car accident knocked off all the power. And so I believe Aisha may have got up at that time. I think I read somewhere it said that Aisha may have gotten up because she heard the noise and everything, but she quickly went back to bed. I think she may have, talked to Dad real quick or asked Dad a question, sat with dad or something and then went back to bed. But that was like early on, because I did tell you that dad went and checked on them at midnight when the power came back on, and then again at 2 o'clock in the morning. So she may have gotten up at that time. I can't recall where I read that, but I believe she may have. So, it appears like, she had a typical weekend for a child her age, and a pretty productive weekend, actually. She got Friday off. She got to hang, she had a game, and she got to hang with her cousins. She went to church, and then she came back home. Now, of course, every investigation starts with investigating the family. So investigating Harold, investigating Aquila, and of course, O'Brien. All of them check out fine. All of them take lie detector tests. They're really cooperating with police. There are no restraints, restrictions, or anything like that. There has been no reported child abuse or anything like that. And so, the idea of a child going missing is still so strange, and one of the things that I read is that most of the time when kids run away, they run away at the age of 12, not at 9 at all. And so this makes this case really, really difficult because there are no real family issues that, were brought into fruition even 20 years later. There is no family issues here. And so it's just quite strange. Now, there are others who do believe when she hid into that wooden area, someone may have taken her then, like outside of her, like running away and different things like that. They do say that, hey, we still consider this an abduction because when she ran into the woods, there was no sign of her after that. And so maybe she was taken after that, and she got scared and ran to someone's house, and they taken her since then. This is why this disappearance is just so puzzling, because it is hard to fathom what exactly happened to this little girl. It's just, there's so many theories that can come from this, and it really leaves your brain kind of just like circling, like, just trying to figure out clues. And I know for her parents, that's something that they've been trying to do for all the years that she's been gone. I mean, man, like, it's mind-boggling, it's so crazy. There were very few leads on this case, of course, as I said before, throughout the years, and even the leads that they did have, they led to nowhere. At one point, they thought the killer may be this guy by the name of Scott Williams, because at the time, he had murdered three young girls. And he had raped and kidnapped 2 girls. And this was around a couple of counties by where Asha's family lived. And so they thought that he may, in fact, be tied to the case. But what they found out was, number one, Scott Williams only really molested and messed with white women and white young girls. And not only that, there is DNA that they have had of Scott Williams for years, and they could not link anything that they found of Asha's with the DNA of Scott Williams. And so they couldn't tie that in together. I know that I think I read somewhere that they also tried another serial killer that was around the North Carolina area, but that led to nowhere. I think someone called in and said something about that, but that led to nowhere as well. Now, in 2021, the FBI finally came out and said what was in that book bag that they found in 2001, in August 3rd, 2001. They said that what was in that bag was a Dr. Seuss book that came from the same school that Asha went to, and I believe her name may have been in that book. And then there was a t-shirt of New Kids on the Block, and I believe Mom Aquila informed the cops that that was like her favorite shirt, or that was her shirt. I'm not sure if she said it wasn't her shirt or not, but that's what was found in the backpack. What I love about Harold and Aquila is their resilience. This is a couple that still works. This is a couple that is still married. And, you know, usually in a situation like this causes family division. This causes married couples to divorce. This causes deep depression. This causes a lot. And this family in particular, I admire so very, very much, because they've managed to still work. They've managed to still be a loving couple towards each other, and they've managed to still have a healthy relationship with O'Brien and with each other. And that is commendable, because it's rare that you see that, white or black. It's rare that you see that. And the one thing that I heard Aquila mom say is that being able to work and being around people has helped her to just keep her mind forward. There's not a day that goes by that they don't think about Asia and don't hope that she returns. But being able to work helps them to keep their mind off of, you know, that fateful day that they woke up and their daughter wasn't there. One of the things that I love that Aquila said is that if she came back home, you know, she wouldn't ask any questions. She wouldn't ask any questions. She would just be happy to see her daughter. If she walked through the door of that house right now, she wouldn't care what she missed, is what she said. She just want to see her. She wouldn't care who took care of her or anything. She'd just be happy that Aisha was in her presence. So the FBI, of course, through technology, has updated pictures throughout the years to show what Aquila would look like at her age. Of course, she would be 31 this year. Whoo, time flies. But Aisha would be 31 this year. And there are updated pictures, of course. I will let you see those pictures, and I will provide the information of who you can contact if you've seen somebody that looks like Asia or know of somebody that reminds you of Asia. I will link that below. But you know, this is a story, this out of all the stories that I've done thus far, this is the most baffling and was just hard to fathom, and it still is. And no matter what I come up with, I know that her parents have probably came up with every scenario in the world, and still nothing. And so keep that family in your thoughts, keep that family in your prayers. Make sure, you know, and all of the people that I've done. And so we want to send love and well wishes to these families. And so if you have any information, I'm going to link all of that below on who you can contact. There is definitely a reward from the FBI in a private investigation of $50,000 for a reward if you know any information at all or know where Aisha may be. Also, they still have a highway billboard of her in North Carolina, in Shelby County actually, which is amazing, so that if you have any information, it's up there as well. And so let me know how you felt about this story in particular, this missing case in particular. Let me know how you felt. Of course, I will see you Sunday for another cultural discussion. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like, comment, and share this video so that Aisha's name can continue to be heard everywhere on social media. This is Old School Heart. You have a great night. Be safe. Be very, very safe as much as you can. Have a good night. Bye-bye.